Good morning, and welcome to the August meeting of the Local Planning Agency for Pinellas County, Florida. Today's public hearing by the Local Planning Agency is being held to review proposed amendments to the Pinellas County Future Land Use Map and Zoning Atlas and other items relative to the county's planning and growth management program. The Local Planning Agency is an independent advisory board charged with reviewing and making recommendation to the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners on each case to be heard today. The Board of County Commissioners will make the final decision on each item at a separate public hearing, currently scheduled to be heard on October the 27th, 2026 at 6 p.m. The Board of County Commissioners meeting will be held at 333 Chestnut Street in the Palm Room. The procedure for today's hearings will be as follows. Staff will make a brief presentation, not to exceed 20 minutes. The applicant will then present their case, again, not to exceed 20 minutes. We'll then hear from proponents who will be given 3 minutes each, unless representing a group of 5 or more, in which case they will receive 10 minutes. Non-speakers must be present and waive their time in order to receive the 10 minutes. We'll then hear from opponents, who likewise will be given 3 minutes each, unless representing a group of 5 or more, in which case they will receive 10 minutes. Similarly, non-speakers must be present and waive their time. Finally, the applicant will be given the opportunity to close, answer questions, or respond to any concerns raised by the opponents or proponents for a period of time not to exceed 5 minutes. Before your presentation, please give your name and address for the record. All testimony needs to be under oath, so if you have not been sworn today and you plan to testify, please rise now and be sworn.
Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give the board today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please signify by saying I do. Thank you.
Also, please fill out the slip on the table and present it to the clerk before you speak. There will not be continuing rebuttal, so please try to present all information and concerns while you are at the podium. If you plan to provide letters, written comments, studies, or other documents in response to the LPA's findings and recommendations, those must be received by the zoning section 7 days prior to the Board of County Commissioners meeting in order to be included in the record that will be transmitted to the Board of County Commissioners. With that, we'll proceed into the agenda. And at this time, we'll be at item 2, the quasi-judicial statement. Counsel?
Thank you. Good morning. Kirby Kreider, Assistant County Attorney. Please note the matters heard by the local planning agency are quasi-judicial in nature. Please note that only competent, substantial, fact-based testimony or evidence may be considered by the board in deciding the matters before it. Pure speculation or opinion not based on competent fact cannot be considered. Lay testimony with fact-based support, including but not limited to meeting minutes, surveys, engineering reports, etc., may be considered competent and substantial evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel Kreider. We'll now move to item 3, approval of the minutes for the July 8th, 2026 LPA hearing. So at this time, do I have any comments or questions from the board on the minutes? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Motion by Hamilton.
Second.
Second by Everett. I'm sorry, my seating. Second by Hendricks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously. That brings us to item 4A1, ZON 26-05. Staff, you may proceed when ready.
Good morning. Our first case on the agenda is ZON 26-05. This is a request for a rezoning. Can I have the PowerPoint brought up, please? So the subject property, it's approximately 0.44 acres. It's located on the north side of Robin Avenue, which is approximately 164 feet east of US Alt 19 in Palm Harbor, north of downtown Palm Harbor. Zoning Atlas Amendment, the request is from C2, which is General Commercial and Services, to R2, Single Family Residential. The proposed use is one single-family home. The existing use, it's vacant. It's a platted lot of record. No change to the land use, which is residential low. You can see the subject site here on the map. And to the east of Alt 19, there on the north side of Robin Avenue. All along the frontages of Alt 19 is different office, commercial, other non-residential uses, starting with the subject property, then back to the east, down these roads, Robin Avenue, Sparrow to the north, Cardinal to the south, there's single-family residential platted subdivision developed with single-family homes. And showing the existing zoning map on the left with the proposed on the right, again, the change from C2 to R2, which is the rest of that neighborhood's designation. You can see commercial along the corridor there, which is usually only about a parcel deep that runs along the corridor, and then residential behind on both sides of Alt 19. This is the subject property, looking at it from Robin Avenue. Again, it's currently vacant. And then looking east at the adjacent single-family homes down Robin Avenue, and then the property that's directly to the west that fronts on US Alt 19 is an office use. So the C2 zoning district allows for uses such as retail office, personal business service, and multifamily uses. It's 10,000 square foot minimum lot size, maximum building height of 45 feet. Single-family residential uses are not allowed. And the proposed R2 allows for single-family detached homes and their accessory uses, 7,500 square foot minimum lot size, maximum building height of 35 feet, and a maximum impervious surface ratio of 0.75. Property has a low flood risk. It's not in a flood hazard area, and it's not in the coastal high hazard area or coastal storm area. Again, the future land use map designation would remain the same, which is residential low, which allows a residential density of up to 5 units an acre. Proposed zoning atlas amendment, it's compatible with the surrounding development pattern, considering it's a platted subdivision that this property is part of, consistent with the comp plan and the future land use designation. Staff recommends approval and moves forward. The BCC will hear this on October 27th. I'll answer any staff questions that you may have.
All right. Board members, do you have any questions for staff at this time? Seeing none, thank you, staff. At this time, does the applicant wish to speak? All right, so the applicant has indicated that they do not wish to speak. At this time, we will hear from anyone in the public who wishes to speak in support of application ZON 26-05. Seeing none, do we have anyone online today?
Good morning, Madam Chair. No, there are no participants online.
All right. I'll now hear from anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to application ZON 26-05. All right, seeing none. Applicant, you do have the right to 5 minutes if you want to make any additional remarks. And he's shaking his head no. All right, comes back to the board. Unless there's any discussion, I'll entertain a motion on application ZON 26-05.
I will make a motion to approve case number ZON-26-05.
Motion by Oliveri.
Second.
Second by Hendricks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously. All right. Thank you for your time. The next case will be FOU 25-10, and I see that this is a companion case with ZON 25-08. Staff, is it your intention to present these two cases together?
Yes, we're going to present those two cases together. They are same property, they're related. There's also development agreement
Okay.
involved with it, so it's pertinent that we hear them together, and there'll be 2 votes on it at the end.
All right, and
Do you need this?
do you just need the time for one case, or do you need combined time?
One case, how much time is available?
20
for one
minutes.
case? Oh, just one case.
All right. And is the applicant's counsel here? Are you okay with consolidated time?
Yes.
All right. Council indicated they are okay with that. So we'll now hear a combined presentation on FLU 25-10 and ZON 25-08. And then Council Kreider, we will be taking two separate votes at the time we make our decision.
Correct.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen of the local planning agency, my name is Scott Swearingen. I'm the long-range planning manager for the county. It's a pleasure to be before you once again, and I appreciate your time, and therefore I will jump right into things. This is, again, as the chair had mentioned, this is a combined case, FLU 2510 and ZON 25-8. They're companion cases, so thank you. The subject property, it's approximately 3.22 acres, and it's located on the east side of US Highway 19 at the eastern terminus of Timberlane Road in Palm Harbor. The future land use map amendment case is a request to change the land use from residential low medium to to residential office retail. And the companion zoning atlas case is a request to change the zoning from residential mobile manufactured home and R4, 1, 2, and 3 family residential. So there are 2 zoning districts currently on the property, and it's to change that to 1 zoning district, which would be the CP Commercial Parkway District. The property is currently vacant. It was a mobile home park. I believe it's been vacant for about a couple decades now. And the proposed use for the property is a restaurant and bar, which is subject to a development agreement. And that development agreement is a very important component of this case, which I'll get into. So that development agreement, which would ride with the zoning if the zoning were to be approved, would provide certain limitations and restrictions on the property that would hold with the property. There are 7 worthy of noting here, and the first is that the property shall be limited to a restaurant, bar, and other accessory uses that directly support that principal permitted use. The property shall be developed substantially in conformance with a concept plan. I'll show you that in just a moment. There is a concept plan that has been submitted. So substantially in conformance, so how that concept plan is laid out, where buildings are, parking, access, buffering, things like that, must be substantially in conformance with that if they were to go to site plan with the project. No amplified music is permitted per the development agreement. There is an observation deck that is shown on a concept plan, and that is to be, it shall be for patrons of the restaurant only, and it's not open to the public, so no one to the public can just kind of come in, go up, take a look, hang out a little bit. It's for patrons of the business only. The development standards are limited by the concept plan. So there are setback standards, FAR, impervious surface ratio standards, ultimate size of the building standards that are on that concept plan, which is a part of your packet. And as I just mentioned, those types of things, buffering, whatnot, are listed on that concept plan. And so whatever's developed must be in those confines, which are substantially lower than the future land use and the zoning regulations, I might add. An important component of the development agreement, which is really important to staff, is that no residential uses shall be permitted. The property is within a flood hazard area, and so we like, and per our comprehensive plan, and simply for just being good stewards of the county, we like to keep residential development outside of flood areas. And so per the development agreement, no residential would be permitted on this property anymore. We used to have a mobile home park, so no more residential. And finally, any dock facilities that would be proposed or permitted must comply with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection impaired water body criteria for Lake Tarpon. That's the gist of the development agreement. And as I mentioned, there is a concept plan attached to it as well, which is in your packet. I won't go into detail here, but it outlines sort of your access drives, your parking, general building location, and it prescribes maximum building size, the type of land use, the impervious surface allowed, the floor area ratio. I'll note that actually I'll wait for that. So moving on, location map. This says Timberline Road. Let's get that, let's turn that into Timberlane Road. I'm not sure why our GIS has Timberline Road, but it's Timberlane Road. That's on the north side of the property. You can see, you can make out US 19 on the left side or the west side of that aerial photograph, and on the opposite side, Lake Tarpon. on the north side of Timberline Road, and then across the canal, you have a single-family residential to the north. On the south side of the property, directly south, you have some single-family, and then across, further south, across the water, you have additional residential, some multifamily, some single-family. Directly adjacent to the west of the subject property, between US 19 and that property, is a hotel resort property. So that's your property directly adjacent to the west. A little better oblique view. You can see Timber Lane Road there at the north side. You can see where you can sort of make out some of the access drives from the vacated mobile home park. You can start to see that hotel resort adjacent to the west and some of the residential to the north and south. And then the future land use map amendment. Right now the property is residential low. And on the right side of that graphic, you can see that the property would be residential office retail, which is would be a continuation from that residential, or I'm sorry, that hotel resort directly to the west. And that's primarily the character along US 19 is that ROR land use. And then similarly with the zoning, the zoning would be changed to commercial parkway, which again is the zoning directly adjacent to the west, and then it's a predominant zoning that you'll find along US 19 at commercial parkway designation. This is a photograph looking east at the subject property from Timber Lane Road. So this is further east from, not at US 19, but a little further in. You can see, and so now you can see that subject property there looking, you can barely kind of make out Lake Tarpon there in the distance, I think. And then this is facing the opposite direction from the subject property along Timber Lane Road. And you can see across the water, Timber Lane Road, the water, and then very close from the water, you can see a residential community there on the north. This is a hotel adjacent to the west. And then this is one more view. This is looking east along Timber Lane Road, kind of more closer to US 19. This would be sort of the direct route into the subject property. The current future land use, residential low medium, generally allows residential dwelling units, as you might guess. It also allows, with additional standards and limitations, there are possibilities for institutional office, retail recreation, and other ancillary non-residential uses. Per our comprehensive plan verbatim, the residential low-medium category is generally appropriate in areas served by a complete range of urban services and areas where use and development characteristics are low-medium residential in nature, an area serving as a transition between low-density and high-density residential areas, and in areas in close proximity to major employment centers, community and regional shopping centers, and arterial and collector highways. That's a mouthful. That comes from our comprehensive plan when discussing where this designation would be appropriate. RLM designation allows up to 10 residential units per acre, so that is what is on the property right now. When you do the math, that would mean up to 32 residential units could be built by right based on the land use. Obviously, it'd be the zoning lot configurations would come into play, and then other site issues would be into play. But simply from a land use perspective, it allows 10 dwelling units per acre on a 3.2 acre parcel. And for non-residential uses, a 0.5 floor area ratio and a 0.75 impervious surface ratio is permitted. And then that change is proposed, residential office retail, and that allows a range of uses from residential, office, retail, light manufacturing, and then in some instances with additional standards and limitations, or require some other uses, institutional, medium manufacturing, residential, ancillary, non-residential uses. And this category is generally appropriate in locations where it would serve as a transition from more intensive non-residential uses or major roadways to residential, office, or public, semi-public uses. These areas are typically in close proximity to and served by the arterial roadway network. 24 dwelling units per acre is permitted in the ROR land use designation with a 0.55 FAR and a .85 ISR for non-residential uses. And that's why it's important where the development agreement comes in. Because while I've just gone through this exhaustive list of uses in the land use, in the land uses where we control floor area ratio, density, and impervious surface, the development agreement and associated concept plan actually limits, well, no residential whatsoever, so the density is zero, would be zero. The floor area ratio would be limited to 0.11, so that would be the FAR on the property. And the impervious surface ratio, which is something that we're very much interested in, is 0.26. So there would be some what we feel are strong but necessary limitations that would be imposed by the development agreement that would, much further ratchet down what the future land use would permit. And again, that rides with the property. Let me just quickly go over the zoning as well. The companion case, RMH and R4, are the two zoning districts on the property. RMH, as you get, it's pretty much for single-family areas comprised of mobile manufacturing homes, mobile home parks, and mobile home subdivisions, and their accessory uses. A maximum height of 35 feet is permitted. They generally have smaller lots, as you might imagine. Commercial uses are not permitted in this zoning district. Commercial uses are also not permitted in the R4 district, and that's intended for single-family duplex, triplex homes with a similar building height of 35 feet maximum, and then a range of lot sizes depending on the type of units that you might build. That's the current zoning, and then that zoning would be consolidated into the commercial parkway zoning, which it would generally provides for a range of commercial and office uses, and in certain circumstances would allow for some residential uses. It's intended to be conveniently located with access to arterial highways and transportation facilities, either directly or via service roads. The maximum height in the CP zoning is 75 feet. However, 45 feet when within 50 feet of residentially zoned property. With height, our height is controlled by zoning, and in addition, in the development agreement on the concept plan, the building shall not be higher than 40 feet. So 40 foot is the maximum height per the concept plan. So the 75 feet really wouldn't apply, and those range of uses as well. The only use that would be permitted on a property per the development agreement would be the restaurant/bar on the property. Some additional information, traffic impacts. US Highway 19 is a busy highway. It operates at a level of service F and has a vehicle to capacity ratio of 1.246. Therefore, it operates in that PM peak hour time frame about 125% of its capacity. And this project would be, from a land use perspective, and I say this every time when we're here, we look at traffic impacts from sort of that 20,000 foot level, and we simply just assess it. And from that level, the project could have an additional 826 vehicular trips, and that's average annual daily trip calculations. So that would be daily trips. Traffic would be any sort of mitigation efforts, any other requirements that would get into traffic would come at that site plan review level, and US 19, as we all know, is a state roadway. It's not a county roadway. Flood risk. The property is within the coastal storm area and in the coastal high hazard area, and the property lies within the 100-year floodplain. A finished floor elevation of 11.3 feet would be required for any development on the property. So they would have to be outside of that. Their finished floor elevation would have to be higher than that level of the 100-year flood zone. So that would be one requirement, and the concept plan depicts that they would be above that height. And again, when it comes to the coastal storm area and coastal high hazard area, that's a red flag for us when it comes to residential. We really don't want residential in those areas. Our comp plan discourages it. Some ways in some instances, it also prohibits it. So getting the property out of residential was something that we were interested in, and therefore staff supports the proposed amendments, both the future land use map amendment, the zoning atlas, and that associated development agreement especially. That agreement removes the potential for residential units, as I mentioned, the CHHA. There is a binding concept plan. It gives us some predictability of what is going to happen on the property, and it significantly lowers the site's ISR and FAR, as I mentioned, an FAR of 0.11 and an ISR of 0.26. The amendments will allow redevelopment aligned with the county's development regulations in a more appropriate manner. So it's going to bring, any development would bring this property into our 2026 modern zoning requirements and land development requirements, which we're always happy to see. The proposal is consistent and compatible with the area's mixed-use character. We have varying residential to the south, residential to the north, the lake to the east, and then we have, especially directly to the west, the hotel resort, and then obviously the character of US 19, where you see like commercial, retail, and office uses directly there. And finally, the proposal is found to be consistent with our comprehensive plan. Staff recommends approval again. And there is a Board of County Commissioners meeting that is scheduled for October 27th at 6 p.m. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to try and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you for your
All right.
time.
Board members, do you have any questions for staff?
Yeah, I have a question. Did the applicant submit any, like, conceptual drawings or anything that would kind of give us an idea of what this thing's gonna look like on the property?
Yes, sir. And that, you'll have the benefit, you have the benefit of having that in your packet. That is,
I saw that.
that is a conceptual plan that goes along with the concept plan.
Okay, but
It
there's-
has a level of detail, I mean, it's just about to a final site plan level. But it is a concept plan, and the requirement for that, and I just want to make it very clear, developed substantially in conformance with that plan, because obviously, once you get out on site and start peeling that onion away, there may be a need to kind of, you know, a little wiggle room here and there on things, but it needs to be developed, you know, with substantially in compliance, and our staff, you know, does that, and we make sure those things happen.
Do you have a follow-up question, Board Member Everett?
No, I mean, that shows me the footprint. I was just wondering if anything showed, like, what the building's gonna look like.
That wouldn't come until site plan review. They
Right.
would obviously have to file, or I'm sorry, to follow our, you know, today's zoning regulations.
I understand.
For that, yeah.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Hey, Scott, am I accurate in saying that the proposed parking lot is going to be impervious, or I'm assuming pervious? Doesn't look like it's going to be paved. Does the green represent like grass or shell?
Yeah, it's pervious.
Thank you.
They're going to, they have on there to meet, you know, county standards, which could be grass, paver, blocks, you know, we have different requirements, depending on what they want to use for pervious surface.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hamilton?
I want, the height allowance, we have an 11-foot 3-inch base, and then does the 45 or 40 feet, is that above the 11-foot flood, or is that the 11 feet calculated into the 40-foot height restrict?
Per our zoning, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but our zoning requires the height is allowed to be measured from the finished floor elevation,
Yes.
correct?
So
So
it
it'd be
starts
40
at
feet
that.
from the finished floor
So it'd be
elevation.
50 feet high,
51, yes.
51, yeah,
It could be up to 51 feet.
okay.
Board members, any other questions? Okay. I have a couple questions. I see an object on this conceptual plan with a purple band around that. Am I safe in assuming that is wetlands with a protective buffer?
That's correct,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
The 20
And if they were to build a house right now, that would be 35 feet, right?
The maximum height?
Yeah.
That's correct. It would be 35 feet, they would be permitted from that finished floor elevation.
So in either case, we're looking at a difference of 5 feet?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all the questions that I have. Board members, any final questions before we hear from the applicant? Seeing none, applicant, you may come up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. Brian Unk, 625 Court Street here on behalf of the applicant Trent Road LLC. I'm joined by my client, Martin Salim, who is contract purchaser, has the property under contract contingent on approval of the development agreement, the land use amendment, and the rezoning by the Pinellas County Commission. Also joined by our architect and our civil engineer if you have any additional technical questions. And we do have a PowerPoint. Oh, I need the clicker, Scott.
You want-
So as Scott explained, Madam Chair and board members, this property is currently zoned and has a land use that would allow for 32 mobile home units. It was previously developed as a mobile home. It is in the coastal storm area, it is in the 100-year floodplain, and it is in the coastal high hazard area. As Mr. Swearingen said, the comprehensive plan of Pinellas County strongly discourages residential within these coastal storm areas, coastal high hazard areas, and within the floodplain. And a significant amount of effort has been undertaken for resiliency efforts and to improve the county's firm flood insurance rating, and it's been very successful. And one of the ways that it is successful is removing residential from the coastal high hazard area, the floodplain, and from the coastal storm area. That makes this site incredibly difficult to develop. You can see on the aerial, it is not up to code for anything. You can see the old internal drives that are laid out for 32 mobile home units. And certainly the mobile home units are not compatible with the single family neighborhood to the north, or the very active hotel and restaurant and bar directly to the west. This is, from a land use and zoning perspective, it is an unusual kind of mix of zonings in this area. To orient you, you're probably all familiar with this area, but this is directly across the street from the Palm Harbor AMC Movico Theater. So that would be to the west, just off the screen. And then directly adjacent to the property, again, is a very active hotel, which is obviously a tall building, a multi-story building. And there's also a very active restaurant and bar. And they've served that area, that hotel and restaurant and bar have been there for decades, for many, many years, and have been compatible with that area. So again, right now the zoning is residential mobile home with an RLM land use. The residential mobile home allows for 32 mobile home units on the property. We are proposing a commercial parkway land use with a residential office retail zoning as restricted by a development agreement, as explained by Mr. Swearingen, which is entirely consistent with the land use and zoning directly adjacent to the site to the west, and the land use and zoning that is across to the west on US 19 and to the south on US 19. We do have, again, our civil engineer here and our architect to answer any questions about this. Is the site plan that is part of the development agreement. Again, Madam Chair, as you pointed out, that purple is the wetland buffer to protect the wetlands. The restaurant is limited to 5,000 square feet or less. So this is not a large building. It is also situated as far away from the adjacent residential properties as we can get it. And one of the components of the development agreement, which I don't know was mentioned, is that there will be no amplified music at any time. So no amplified music at all, which I think is probably one of the bigger concerns about waterfront restaurants. So in terms of compatibility with the neighborhood, we certainly believe that it is much more compatible than 32 mobile homes in the coastal high hazard area, which would negatively impact flooding. I mean, imagine if there was, God forbid, another Milton. That could be a significant detriment to the adjacent single-family homes to have mobile home units that could be affected by the Limois and the moderate wave action of a significant flood, which is why, again, the county staff, I think, is very supportive of this application, because from a land use and zoning perspective, having mobile homes in this area is not acceptable. From a risk perspective and a compatibility perspective. Again, we've tried to go out of our way to limit this development as much as possible for the reasonable use of the site. There's probably a reason why this site hasn't been developed since 2008. It is a challenging site. It is a very challenging site. So the proposed use is limited to the restaurant. The site will be developed substantially in conformance with the concept plan, which shows a 0.11 or 11% FAR and a 26% ISR with that pervious parking. There is no amplified music permitted. There's no residential development permitted. The proposed observation deck is for use of the patrons of the restaurant only. It's not open to the public. There'll be no fishing, nothing like that. And the site will comply with the existing base flood elevation of 11.3 with the code compliant buffers for the adjacent wetlands. This is a picture of the existing conditions.
Brian, I just want to correct you. Before, previously you said 5,000 square foot maximum size building. We have 15,000. Is the total building size allowed per the concept?
Okay,
Which one?
I thought in the development agreement I saw 5,000, but if it was 15,000, I misspoke. My apologies. All right, so 15,000 square feet. My apologies. Thank you, Michael, for the correction. So the approval request to remove an existing mobile home zoning from the floodplain and allow for more compatible restaurant use. The adjacent property to the west has the same zoning and future land uses as being proposed in this request, so it is compatible and consistent with the adjacent property. And the proposed development agreement protects the surrounding properties by providing appropriate restrictions for the use, development, and operation of the site. So we believe, based on the staff testimony and the application, we provided competent substantial evidence that with the development agreement, the proposed land use amendment and rezoning to CP and ROR is consistent with the comprehensive plan and much more consistent than the current outdated land use and zoning of mobile home park. Thank you.
All right. Board members, do you have any questions for the applicant? At this time. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will hear from any members of the public who wish to speak in support of either of these applications, FLU 25-10 or ZON 25-08. Do we have anyone in the room who wishes to speak in support of these two applications? All right, seeing none, do we have anyone online who wishes to speak in support of application FLU 25-10 or ZON 25-08?
There are no participants online.
Thank you. At this time, we will now hear from anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to application FLU 25-10 or ZON 25-08. All right, please come forward, state your name and address for the record before proceeding.
Hello, Board. My name's Andrew Moranville. I live at 2608 Trent Road, which is on the south side of that field. Comment to a couple things he said. He said that the resort and hotel and restaurant has been prominent, and I'm not sure exactly what the words you said, but that hotel has changed from the Vista Hotel to the View Hotel, is now more, not a resort and hotel, it's an extended stay hotel with high levels of criminal activity. So that goes to show when you put something in play with a good idea, how it can change throughout time. B, the bald eagle, American bald eagles, nest on this property every year between October and January. They come in, they're gonna knock down those trees. They're gonna ruin that habitat for the American bald eagle. Also on the lake, like he said, there are already two restaurants. Both struggle with clientele. Not sure why we need a third. I would also like to ask, how is the restaurant and bar compatible with existing residential neighborhood, particularly the homes immediate adjacent to the property? Also, what specific enforceable protections will be in place to address traffic, parking, noise, lighting, late night activities surrounding homeowners? He said there will be no excessive music. What is that subjective to me? What does that mean? What happens when the restaurant change owners? What happens when there is loud music? And us as residents, who do we call? The police, and tell them that they're supposed to keep the music down. It's a very important thing, living there. If rezoning is approved, what prevents this property from becoming substantially more intensive commercial or bar use in future without other public hearings? Just like the hotel, resort, and bar that's changed 5 times since I've lived there. It was an Italian restaurant. It's been every type of restaurant. It's never succeeded. So I'd like to point that out between the eagle, the nature. He mentioned to flooding. I've lived there for going on 9 years, lived through Milton, lived through every hurricane, never saw a flood, never had any water broach my dwelling, and I live directly on the water. The parking lot seems to take up the entire property. I'd like to know what substance they're going to use, asphalt, because that could also deal with water runoff, running water onto my property and hurting my home. Other than that, I'd just like to say I think it's a bad idea. Rezone it to, single-family homes if you'd like, but not a restaurant and bar with 15,000 square foot, which tripled from what the gentleman said at 5,000 square foot. That's all I've got. Thank you.
One moment. Mr. Swearingen, can you please take and get our citizen neighbor's contact information? Because there's a lot of questions that I feel can be answered just by simple dialogue.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Please see Mr. Swearingen to give him your information. All right. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to applications FLU 25-10 and ZON 25-08? Please come up.
I'm not a good public speaker and I'm nervous, so just bear with me.
It's okay. State your name and address
Okay.
first, and then we'll get the time.
My name is Deborah Johnson, and I, like the other gentleman, live in the neighborhood.
Address, please, for the.
2572 Grand Lakeside Drive,
Thank
Melba,
you.
Florida. I'm not sure if this helps, but I brought it just because I felt like it was sort of a little relevant. Okay. This is my land survey. So I own the land that abuts going all the way down to the lake. So I felt like I had to be here for
Okay.
the residents. What the other gentleman said is true. The hotel is not a hotel. It's not a resort. It has changed hands. It was going to be repossessed, so you say. And now I think it is low-income housing. We have had to deal with rats that have invaded our homes now because there's multiple dumpsters outside. We've had to change our fence line from a 6-foot fence line to concrete walls to keep out all of the trash and the rats. And with a restaurant going in, we feel that's only going to compound this issue for us as residents. I've lived there since 2009. So I've lived there for almost 25 years. I've never been flooded. I've never had any issues of that sort. This land that I own is all open land. If this is a parking lot, our homes abut that. It is extremely concerning to us. What is going to happen? Because there's only a little ravine. It's Lake Tarpon that goes down there, and it ends at my house. So if that's open land, what is going to happen to that land? Is there going to be a fence put up? Again, that's a concern. Are they going to fence that whole parking lot so it keeps us separated from what is taking place over there? Because I see a lot of cars coming in and out of there from a restaurant, a lot of trash being thrown into the waterway in the ravine, which is right there. That's extremely concerning to all of us. I think that in the end, the noise ordinance is not going to be kept. We have Tap and Turtle, which is as loud as can be. I don't know if they have a noise ordinance, and I don't live that close to them. But this restaurant, I don't see keeping the noise ordinance down. I don't see how they're going to be a restaurant with a roof deck and have no music whatsoever. Let's see, do I have any more notes here? There is the issue of the eagles. Again, I've lived there 25 years. We've had eagles there for the entire 25 years. They have babies, they have homes. We all go out our backyards and look at the eagles. So we always thought that was a protected site. The restaurant is changed hands on multiple occasions. It lasts usually no more than 2 years, and it is changing hands because there's no activity. I'm extremely concerned about the amount of traffic that is going to literally, as I showed you my property line, run right down that property line. I mean, the road abuts my property line. That means the traffic from the hotel, from the restaurant, is going to
Can
go
you-
up and down, up and down.
Can you wrap up if I give you another 30
I'm
seconds?
done. I'll be done.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that aerial map that's off
This?
to your side there?
Yeah.
Yes. Could you point on to that where you've observed eagles? And you need to move that further
Move it
up.
further towards us.
There we are.
So right here, this is all where they're showing the parking lot. I don't know if you can see it,
We
but where
can.
they're showing the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
This is all open land right now. Currently, as you saw, I think on his prior maps, it's all grassland.
Mm-hmm.
And there's multiple trees, multiple huge trees. And closer to my property line, closer over this way, there's lots of trees that the eagles make homes in and go back and forth and back. So we all see them going from house to house,
Okay.
behind our houses.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
And is your house identified on any of the, could you point it out on this map?
Yes, I'm trying to here on this little map that I have. I believe, it's very small printing, but I believe this second house here, no, this house where I put the arrow, I believe
Okay.
is my house. Because my house abuts where they're showing the parking lot would start, is kind of where my fence line is.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions for this citizen? All right, thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm a little nervous talking.
No worries. All right, does anyone else wish to speak in opposition of FLU 25-10 or ZON 25-08? Please come up, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Leslie McLean Day, also nervous, and I live
Address,
at
please.
2646 Grand Lakeside Drive,
Thank you.
and that's in Grand Cypress, which is the community you see up in front of everything. On that layout that you saw, our house is the one you can see the dock. So any activity that comes through the waterway really disturbs the area. In fact, like 3 weeks ago, maybe, I saw her
Push it
moving it
towards us.
around.
There you go.
Can y'all see that?
Bring it towards us a
Closer
little
to
bit
us.
more.
There, a little more.
A little more. There you go.
And if you could please just turn it around for us.
This way?
Upside down.
Keep turning it all the way around.
Got it. Now I can see our house too.
Perfect.
Does that look
Thank you.
good?
Yep.
Okay, that's us right here.
Okay.
So what we've seen is boat traffic comes through here, and I know we're talking about a dock, but as boat traffic comes through, it's knocking out the fauna here. And we've had 3 trees we've lost just from boats rolling stuff in. And I realize that's what is there now. But if we had a lot of traffic like you see up at Tarpon Turtle, I'd have grave concern of what's coming here because you're watching it slowly erode because of that. This, as they said, is a motel, not a hotel. You don't go inside and go in somewhere. You have motel rooms. So, and there is no resort. There's a gross little pool. But it is what it is. Yes, it does have people. Yes, it is more of an extended stay. So the real fear from just people talking, and I don't have more with me. Unfortunately, we just got back from our daughter's wedding and found out about this. So I have nothing except words. But as you see these here, all of these houses are right along the line that would go in here. And we do all see this. It's directly out our living room. So it would be directly out our living room that we would be looking at that versus another house. So that's a little distressful. The music is obviously very distressful, the thought of that. You can take a boat and off the water everything echoes. So as we're sitting out here on our patio, you hear people talking on their boats. I mean, you can literally hear arguments, you can hear the whole thing they're talking about, which sometimes I'm sure they wish we couldn't. But you can hear everything. So I have to assume if I can hear it off boats around this area, I can't imagine what we'd hear if you had restaurant sound. So it's definitely concerning, and I'm glad there is another meeting so that we can kind of get more stuff together, because it's a good community, it's a beautiful community, and all of these houses are families. So to have something that would be that disruptive is scary, I guess is what I'd say. And there are houses, as that gentleman said, over here, right along there. So you come up through the hotel, which is here, and then they come down this road and down this road. So this is all residential over here as well. And then we're actually on the other side. You go just up by AMC to go into ours, and then you take a right, and that's our road there. And it's one big circle if you see, which again, I wish I had with me, our neighborhood and how it would truly apply all the way over to all of these houses. So I guess in general, I just say I wish you do extra homework on this one, because I really do feel it will affect us.
All right. Thank you. Board members, any questions for the speaker? All right. Thank you for your time this morning. All right. Does anyone else wish to speak in opposition to applications FLU 25-10 or ZON 25-08? All right. Seeing none in, oh, I have one more.
Very brief. My wife Leslie neglected to point
Please
out
state your name and address for
Mark
the record.
McGuan, 2646 Grand Lakeside Drive.
Thank you.
The Eagle's Nest, I can point out
Yeah,
my
it's on.
neighbor who presented earlier, her house is right here. So if you count down, it goes 1, 2, 3. Right in front of that, right here, certainly within this property is a active bald eagle's nest. We witness it every year. The eaglets and whatnot come in every year and occupy that nest. Certainly it's within the 660 feet that's applicable. You can't be within 660 feet, correct me if I'm wrong, with an eagle's nest. Anybody know? Nobody knows. Okay, well, it is 660-foot radius around an eagle's nest. You can't disturb, distract, harm them in any way. Just wanted to point that out. That's all I have to say.
All right. Board members, any questions for the speaker? Okay. Is there anybody else in the room who wishes to speak in opposition to application FLU 25-10 or ZON 25-08? All right. Do we have anyone online who wishes to speak in opposition to application FLU 25-10 or ZON 25-08?
No participants online.
All right. It comes back to the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we could pull our PowerPoint back up. So as we have stated and as the staff has pointed out, this site is currently entitled for 32 mobile home units. It is not consistent with the comprehensive plan or the goals and objectives of Pinellas County as it relates to the coastal storm area, the coastal high hazard area, or the floodplain. It is not up to code for anything. It is not up to code for water treatment or water quality runoff. It is not up to code for stormwater retention or drainage. And as you know, when we go through the site plan approval, all of those things will come up to code for the modern 2026 standards, as Mr. Swearingen said in his presentation. So as it relates to water quality, stormwater retention, treatment, and runoff and drainage, this site that is currently out of compliance and non-conforming will come into compliance and will be conforming and will be better than the current conditions for the neighbors and for the adjacent properties. The site is designed with a privacy fence running all the way around the property on the north side and on the south side. It also has landscape buffering, which is the required landscape buffer. You can't really see it very well here, but if you zoom in, there is the required landscape buffering. As we said, we have the wetland adjacent buffering and protection, and the restaurant is situated as far away from the homes as it can be. It is, again, no amplified music at all at any time. So no amplified music, period, no live bands, none of that will be happening on this site, purely a restaurant. In terms of the Eagle, that has been discussed with staff, and in the development agreement, there's a provision that says the property shall comply with all local, state, and federal regulations, including those related to threatened and endangered species. For all floodplain development, county floodplain and stormwater compliance is required to the effective date at the time of the permit issuance. And that's just one of the many, many provisions in the development agreement. So all of the concerns that have been mentioned are good, valid concerns that are addressed by the applicant, by the staff, and by the development agreement, and will continue to be addressed, and not just addressed, but verified as in compliance as we go through the site plan process, which, as you all know, is a very detailed, lengthy process, and the inspections and all of those things. This is just the very beginning of the process to get this property back on the tax rolls and make the reasonable, most compatible use of the property with the adjacent land use and zoning, all conforming with the request and as limited by the development agreement. I don't think I forgot to mention anything. The only thing I would mention is we have been through DRC with this, and as you know, a DRC is noticed, so all of the neighbors who received notice for today would have received notice for the DRC. This is the first public response we've gotten. A lot of times we'll get emails ahead of time to staff, and we'll be able to interact with the neighbors ahead of time. So I did take down the information for Andrew, Deborah, Leslie, and Mark, and we will continue to engage with them, and we'll look forward to talking with them and hopefully addressing some of their concerns prior to the BOCC hearing in October. Thank you.
Board members, do you have any other questions for the applicant, Oliveri?
Brian, so I understand that the site landscape's going to have to meet the current requirements. You mentioned a barrier or a fence. Just want to confirm that's going to be an opaque type fence, 6 foot tall-ish?
Yes.
Both sides along the entire parking lot?
That's
So
correct.
that's going to help with buffering anything in the parking lot from the neighboring properties?
Yes, sir. And that's required for site plan approval as
Okay.
well.
So it's part of the development agreement?
Yes, sir.
As far as the docks are concerned, are they going to be located on the north side or the east side of this property?
Thank you for asking that, because that is one thing I wanted to address that I forgot to mention. There are no docks being approved. There are no docks at all as part of the development agreement, and that was made very, very clear by Water and Navigation. Water and Navigation will not approve any docks as part of this site plan or as part of the development agreement. We'd have to go through a separate Water and Navigation process, which, as you probably all know, is also very detailed and significant, and they look for oyster beds and seagrass and the environmental. We have to do a benthic survey. You have to dive the site. It is a very detailed process. So what you're seeing is an upland boardwalk, essentially.
So to be crystal clear, there's no people coming here to visit this site via boat?
You can't, nothing that you're approving today has any boat access whatsoever.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up to that. Are you willing to commit to not having docks in your developer's agreement? Because right now, the read of it, if I remember correctly, is that if there are docks, they have to comply. And we understand that would be difficult, but theoretically, it could happen. So just thinking in terms of the public's comfort.
Yeah, I think we'd like to try to see if we can get a few docks. I don't know what the plan is for how many. I'd have to talk to the applicant about that, but if that's a suggestion that the board would like to make, I can discuss it with the applicant going forward.
Okay.
We'd like to have the option to try to permit a few docks, but it's not at all part of this process.
In that situation, would your applicant be willing to commit to not having docks on the north side where that canal is? And that's something that they can think about.
He's saying yes.
Okay.
Let me make a note of that. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And we can add that before the October 27th hearing.
Understood. Board members, any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions just to follow up. Mr. Ongst.
Yes, sorry.
I wasn't done with you.
I'm sorry.
All right, just to make sure that I'm on the right page. Show me, right now we have a map. Can we flip over to the concept plan can you put that on the overhead so that way he can point to it? Do we have a paper copy somewhere?
Yeah, she wants the site plan.
That's going to be too big.
Just a little one from the staff reporter.
to see.
That's going to be too
Move it
big.
I brought a
around.
big one up here. Bruce Waters, 7625 Quell Motor Court, Newport Richey. I'll be doing the building plans, and we've got the civil engineer too. There's a couple of things we're looking at. Once upon a time,
Do us a favor, turn that around.
okay? There. There's existing boat ramp in here, that's gonna go away.
Lay it down, please.
Lay it down
Okay.
flat so we can see.
All right, now point to
All right,
where,
now, this existing boat ramp is gonna go away, and they explained to me about taking this out. We cannot remove this till a site plan's done, because that's part of the demo in the site plan. That's already been agreed, that will be removed. This is a protected area up by where the neighbors are back here in the back. Not only is, while we're talking about that, not only is there a 6-foot opaque fence, there's also gonna be a 30-foot landscape buffer in there, so there's gonna be stuff 15, 20 foot tall. There'll be no noise and there'll be no sight. And also it's protected, so whenever the cars leave, you're not even gonna see the lights coming through the bushes at nighttime. And back when it's talking about docks, they're just talking about maybe something in this area right here, just so if a few residents wants to come in, tie up their boat and go inside and eat. So we can clarify that, and it was talking about they were nervous about what was gonna be going here with the restaurant and the bars and stuff. It hasn't made it. This is a multi-million-dollar lot. It's a multi-million-dollar building that's going on there. This is an upscaled restaurant. So it's not you just going to a tavern, have a beer and a hamburger. When you walk in here, it's gonna be a nice restaurant. And as far as like the music, the worst that'd ever be is maybe somebody sitting there with a guitar down in the dining room playing some soft dinner music.
Yeah.
That's all that's gonna be there.
Right.
And,
All right.
any more questions while I'm up here?
So getting back to my questions, let's start with the parking lot. What's the surface going to be?
We know it can't be asphalt because we've got to protect that. So we've set up 3 or 4 different things to work with the county engineer on. It could either be sod or it could be, a type of materials that they have now that will absorb water. And there'll be no water that will be coming off on the north side. Everything will be protected within the site.
So something that's not asphalt. Understood.
Correct.
Staff, boat ramp. How does that fit into our developers agreement? I don't recall reading the clause about that. So is there a commitment?
There's nothing in there. It's not functional, though it's part of permitting. They will be required to remove that.
Okay. Do we know if that's something where it could be reestablished right now? Or is it something where?
Not in its current condition.
Or could they?
I don't know, but I don't know from Water and Nav if a boat ramp could be reestablished there. That's a question for Water and Nav, but that boat ramp is non-usable.
Just trying to think in terms of statements that are being made and what's actually behind them as far as law, facts, and commitments.
That could be,
The restaurant
added
would
in
block it,
RDA.
there'd be no access to it.
Understood.
The restaurant would block it.
Madam Chair, if you want us to commit to taking that existing structure out as part of the development agreement, we can add that to the development agreement as well.
Okay. Thank you for offering that. And then that 30-foot buffer, I don't recall seeing that on the concept plan, or
It's there, it's just hard to see.
are we just talking about existing vegetation?
No.
No, it would be new species, Florida native species.
And this is, can you point that out to me?
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I cannot see the plan.
Yeah, you're.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see where I can get it for a reader. All, number 26, all landscaping shall meet or exceed Pinellas County Landscape Code for buffering. And then there's also the fence is one of these that's in there too.
Okay,
But it is in here where there's a.
I'm gonna hold you right there.
Okay.
Staff, there was a statement that the Pinellas County Code requires a 30-foot buffer?
No.
Can you help me understand?
So, yeah, there's no 30-foot buffer requirement in there. So where their property line ends on the north,
Okay,
it's an unimproved right-of-way, which is approximately 30 feet wide in that area. So there's their property, which they'll do landscaping on, and then just to the north of that is that unimproved right-of-way area, which cannot be built in.
okay.
And then the adjacent neighbor's property there.
It's up here.
Which the neighbor that pointed out with the long piece that went out to the east is all in a conservation easement area.
Right where my finger's at right now, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. It says it's a proposed 6-foot privacy fence and landscape buffer with a constant row of hedges and trees.
And
Oh,
then-
no, I saw that, and to be clear, I commend the applicant for, in a situation like this, providing your neighbors as much certainty as you can instead of trying to come in with something that you haven't formally committed to through a developer's agreement. Okay, so the 30-foot is the right-of-way that's closed, or the right-of-way that's not built out.
Right.
Thank you. All right, board members, do you have any other questions for the applicant? Any questions for anyone who spoke today? All right, it comes, yes,
I have a
Hendricks.
couple of things. One was that several months ago, something was brought up on some property that we discussed. And I had made some suggestions that they change some things. And it was brought to my attention that needed to be voted on by the board, not just brought up just by me and not approved by the rest of the members of the board. So I think that same thing needs to hold true here today on things that you brought up to change on this without approval of the rest of the board. And the other thing I had a question on is what happens if this PD doesn't go through or the developer decides he doesn't want to proceed with this process after we've changed the zoning on it?
We have provisions in the development agreement, if it's not built within the time frame or by mutual agreement between the county and the owner of the property, the county staff will bring back an application for reversion of the land use and zoning back to what it was and a removal of the development agreement.
Okay, thank you.
And I think I remember that. That was the one down on the north side of St. Pete, south of Park Boulevard, and that was condominiums or residential units
No.
within the high hazard area, right?
That was a transfer station for hazardous waste,
Transfer station for hazardous waste. Okay.
debris removal.
All right. Well,
So the board does have the ability as part of a motion, if you want to add additional conditions, requests to be put into the development agreement.
all right.
It sounds like those with the docks and the boat ramp that was brought up was agreeable with the applicant, is what it sounded like.
Okay.
And those both can be put in, and then we would amend the development agreement going forward to county commission, if that was the
Okay.
case.
And then, of course, the applicant is the author of their application, so they also have the ability to commit like they did to remove those factors too. All right. So, do we have any other discussion on either of these two applications? All right. With that, I will entertain a motion on FLU 25-10.
And just for the record, the development agreement is tied to the zoning case. So if there's any changes, conditions that you wanted to make, that it would be part of the zoning vote.
Okay, perfect. So, brings us back to the matter on the table. I will entertain a motion for application FLU 25-10.
I make a motion to approve FLU 25-10.
Motion by Cataldo,
I will second it.
second by Hamilton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Onks, come up real quick. The two items, the boat ramp and not placing docks on the north side, is it your client's intention to commit to those conditions?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Thank you. Board members, at this time, I'll entertain a motion on application ZON 25-08.
I'll make a motion to approve application ZON-2508.
Motion by Hamilton,
I'll second.
second by Oliveri.
The amendments to the DA.
Oh, with the amendments as previously stated.
All right. Motion by Hamilton. Oliveri, do you maintain your second?
Yes.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously. All right. Staff, do you have anything to bring to our attention before we adjourn?
No new business, just we'll see you next month.
All right. See you next month. In that case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Oliveri,
Second.
second by Hamilton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes.
Here.
Thank you.